Rural Americans deserve access to the best of what our nation has to offer, especially health care. Across every state and every community, America's rural hospitals are the first line of defense, protecting our families, neighbors, and loved ones. No matter where you live, hospital care doesn't clock out. They're there 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year. Each year, America's over 5,000 hospitals care for millions of patients, providing 24/7 emergency care, delivering babies, cancer treatments, and other life-saving care that patients rely on. Behind every one of those patients are doctors, nurses, and caregivers working tirelessly to keep people healthy and safe. Hospitals are our community's lifelines. They employ our neighbors and keep our families healthy. But now, some in Congress are threatening access to care. Tell Congress, protect patient care to keep America strong. Don't cut rural health care.
Excuse me! Taxi!
This is the 77 WABC minicast.
And joining us now here on Cats and Cosby is the great Congresswoman from New York, Congresswoman Claudia Tenney. Congresswoman, I can't believe it must have just been, Twilight Zone, I guess, being there in the chamber this week, watching the Democrats not stand up when they were asked, would you put American citizens over illegal aliens? What's the reaction? What's going on with the Democratic Party?
This is what they did in the very first Trump joint address, every other Trump State of the Union address. This is what they do. They don't stand up for the American people. And I thought that President Trump set the trap for them, and they fell right in it over and over. And the commercials are going to write themselves with, the vitriol spewing out of some of the members of Congress, especially on the Democratic side, just going, reacting to Trump. And really, President Trump beautifully describing and talking about great American stories, American people who rose above, who went above and beyond, and he awarded them and gave them the recognition they deserved, from great achievements in the military to people who lost their children, to crime or to the scourge of illegal immigrants having licenses and truck driver license. I mean, it was just a beautiful statement on America with a lot of great detail on these people and why every one of us should feel proud to be an American and why every one of us knows that you can't do this anywhere else. And this is why we recognize and honor those people who are great in our community. The average person is who we celebrate. You don't have to be a movie star like the Democrats always clamor around. You can just be a great American doing great work in your job or whatever it is, your mission, your task. And President Trump did a beautiful job highlighting that. And I thought it was the best speech actually I've ever heard him give because there was so much content about so many great people. And it was a thrill to be in the room. I know it was a long speech, but every part of it was great. He was funny. He was witty. He was warm. He was compassionate. His comments to Nancy Pelosi about the stock trading, did she stand up? I mean, he's just so quick-witted and so funny. I just thought it was a terrific speech.
Well, I listened to the entire speech, and I think he did a great job. I mean, he stood up for America and common sense. Stood up for America, stood up for common sense, and the people that did not stand up, he made them accountable about why are you not standing up. What is wrong with giving a soldier the Medal of Honor recipient? Why didn't you stand up for him? What is wrong with getting rid of drugs in America? I mean, there's so many common sense things that the Democrats didn't stand up for. I mean, how did you feel about it? I thought it was more of the same with the Democrats, but he just proved in clarity in front of the world that the Democrats hate Donald Trump more than they love America. And you've heard that phrase before, but they really don't love America. They want to tear down our institutions. They don't believe in our constitutional principles, which revere individual rights and human freedom and human greatness and self-governance. They don't care about that. They're talking about Marxism and chaos and no support for our law enforcement and the rule of law. We cannot have a free society where we're always balancing that freedom versus security. And we want to maximize freedom as much as we can, but we also have to have, security in our communities because we're free. And that's always, but when you throw chaos into the situation, like
the Democrats, when you defund, demoralize, and attack our police, you end up with a chaotic society, an anarchical type of society, and you can't actually prosper. You can't actually have security and safety for your families, and you can't live the American dream. And that's why it's so important that President Trump said not just common sense, John, but rule of law, respect for others, respect for the police. It is just so simple and basic to a good society, and about citizenship. You know, citizenship has value, and that's something President Trump ran on in his very first term, and he renewed that again. Citizenship has value, and that's why people come from all over the world wanting to be legal citizens of the United States. And unfortunately, so many people have taken advantage of our goodness and our kindness with drug trafficking, human trafficking, and taking advantage of that citizenship that we so much revere as Americans, and new citizens as well. Actually, in some ways, actually appreciate the citizenship of being an American than most do, and most Americans who take it for granted.
You know, Claudia, Tenney, we just have a few minutes, few seconds left here, Congresswoman. Very quickly, your reaction to the snowball attack. They finally, you know, Mayor Mondani made it sound like it's a bunch of kids in a snowball fight. It was an attack on police. They finally arrest a guy. He is a repeat offender. He's 27 years old. He's not a kid. And now he's out on a misdemeanor. They reduced charges. We just have a few seconds, but your thoughts?
Yeah. All the worst of the Democrat policies. Again, demoralize, defund, disrespect the police, all in one, in addition to horrible criminal justice rights for criminals, not for victims. Always prioritizing the criminals over the victims, and letting these people go and keeping our communities unsafe. And it's not just New York City. It is all over the state because these are statewide laws. We see it up in upstate New York as well. It's really just, we've got to change these laws. And you see the same thing happening in California, where Gavin Newsom's parole board wants to put a multiple sex offender back out on the street just because he's 64 years old and he's been in prison a while. He's going to commit those crimes all over again against children.
Well, Claudia, Tenney, thank you very much. You're right. That case is horrible in California. The great Congresswoman from New York. We so appreciate you being with us. Thank you so much, and have a good weekend.
Thanks so much. Great to talk to you both.
Thank you so much.
Rural Americans deserve access to the best our nation has to offer, especially when it comes to health care. Across every state and every community, America's rural hospitals are the first line of defense, protecting our families, neighbors, and loved ones. No matter where you live, hospital care doesn't clock out. They're there 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year. Each year, America's over 5,000 hospitals care for millions of patients, providing 24/7 emergency care, delivering babies, cancer treatments, and other life-saving care that patients rely on. Behind every one of those patients are doctors, nurses, and caregivers working tirelessly to keep people healthy and safe. Hospitals are our community's lifelines. They employ our neighbors and keep our families' health. But now, some in Congress are threatening access to care. Tell Congress, protect patient care to keep America strong. Don't cut rural health care.